Many of the Dead Sea Scrolls may be older than experts thought, according to an artificial intelligence (AI) analysis. Consisting of about 1,000 ancient manuscripts etched onto animal skin, papyrus, and copper, the Dead Sea Scrolls contain the earliest known versions of texts from the Hebrew Bible, including copies of the books of Genesis, Exodus, Isaiah, Kings, and Deuteronomy, and date from the 3rd century BC to the 1st century AD. Now, scientists have used an AI program, dubbed Enoch, to analyze the handwriting patterns on the scrolls, revealing that they may be older than experts thought. The study authors say their findings, published June 4 in the journal PLOS One, are a significant step in dating some of the earliest versions of the Bible. However, not all experts are convinced. With the Enoch tool, we have opened a new door into the ancient world, like a time machine, that allows us to study the hands that wrote the Bible, lead study author Mladen Popovic, director of the Qumran Institute at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands, said in a statement. Especially now that we have established, for the first time, that 2 biblical scroll fragments come from the time of their presumed authors. Discovered by Bedouin shepherds inside the West Bank's caves of Qumran from 1946 to 1947, the ancient manuscripts range from legal documents and calendars to sections of the Hebrew Bible and Psalms, written mostly in Hebrew but also in Aramaic and Greek. Previous dating of the scrolls relied on paleography, the study of ancient writing systems, with some undergoing radiocarbon dating in the 1990s. However, castor oil had been applied to some of the manuscripts in modern times to improve their legibility. This oil is also a contaminant that can disrupt radiocarbon dating, so the results from these techniques remain a topic of debate. In an attempt to clear things up, the researchers first cleaned 30 samples from different manuscripts to remove the castor oil, before successfully radiocarbon dating 27 of them. They found that 2 of these scroll fragments were younger than past analyses suggested, but that other fragments were older. Then, the scientists set about creating their Enoch AI model. Enoch was trained on the handwriting of 24 of the newly dated manuscripts and their radiocarbon dates. After verifying the model with 13 further selected images from the same manuscripts, the researchers presented it with 135 undated manuscripts. They found that it agreed with the estimates made by scholars 79% of the time. Yet the results for the remaining 21% of the scrolls point to a mystery, with Enoch giving them a range of dates that could make them older, hard to determine, or even a century younger than initial estimates. They also suggest that 2 different writing styles, known as the Hasmonean and Herodian scripts, named after the Jewish Hasmonean dynasty and Herod, the Roman client king, respectively, could have overlapped for longer than previously thought. Nonetheless, Enoch also corroborates earlier paleography, notably for a scroll titled 4Q114, which contains 3 chapters from the Book of Daniel. Analysts initially estimated 4Q114's writing to have been inked during the height of the Maccabee uprising in 165 BC, a part of the Hanukkah story, due to its description of Antiochus IV's desecration of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. The AI model's estimate also falls within this range, between 230 BC and 160 BC. But for some paleographers, the results are hardly surprising. The results of this study are very interesting and presumably important, but not earth-shattering. Christopher Rolston, a professor and chair of Biblical and Near Eastern Languages and Civilizations at the George Washington University, told Live Science in an email. Most of the conclusions of this article also dovetail with what the great paleographers in the field, such as the late Frank Moore Cross, had already stated more than 60 years ago. Rolston also criticized the notion that the new tool could enable researchers to study the hands that wrote the Bible as at the very least, gross hyperbole. No manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible date to the First Temple period, circa 1200 to 586 BC, when it was originally composed, or to the early parts of the Second Temple period, 538 BC to AD 70, he said. He noted that AI can be useful, but it should only be one of many techniques used to study ancient texts like the Dead Sea Scrolls. Enoch could and should never be the only tool in the toolbox of someone wishing to determine the date for the writing of a manuscript. After all, human handwriting, and all of its variations and idiosyncratic features, is a deeply human thing, Rolston added. Machines can be helpful in isolating features of a script, but the presence of a gifted paleographer is at least as valuable as a machine learning tool.